It is our cardinal red color behind us. So if you see the red behind someone, chances are they're either a faculty member or a student. Or maybe some of you have turned them on yourself just to match everybody else. I don't know. But welcome. What I'd like to do is let you know what we're going to be doing tonight. We're going to introduce ourselves so you know who we are. And then we're going to have a brief presentation for you about what is this School of Architecture all about. And then at the end, we'll have plenty of time for questions and answers. And like Abby said, feel free to type it in the chat, whatever you feel comfortable with. Or, you can just shout them out at the end. We're very informal here. So whatever makes you the most comfortable, we'll totally be fine with. So like I said, I'd like to start out with some brief introductions. My name is Robin Puttick. I am the Associate Dean for Undergraduate Studies for the School of Architecture and Planning at the Catholic University of America. It's the longest title I've ever had in my life. So there I am. And if you end up coming to Catholic, you'll see a lot of me. So I like to get to know all of my students. The undergraduates are in my area. I advise those undergraduates. So I would kind of be one of the faces that you would see most often. We've invited a bunch of students here today and faculty, so you'll see a lot of friendly faces, hopefully. That's part of our presentation here. A little bit about myself. I'm a practicing architect with over 20 years of experience. As I was saying before, I do civic architecture, so schools and libraries. Apologize, Dylan. This is the third time I think you've heard this or something. But anyway, schools, libraries, community centers in the DC area, so Virginia, Maryland, and DC. I've been at Catholic University for 4 years. I've taught every level of studio from first year all the way to graduate levels. And I also teach a bunch of different seminars about sustainability and also human health and well-being. Those are my two passions. So that's a little bit about me. What I'd like to do, if I could, we have 3 fantastic faculty that are joining us tonight. And then each of them brought 2 fantastic students from their studios and their courses. So I'd like to one by one introduce each of them to you according to my Zoom screen. So first up, I have Julio. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, thank you, Robin. I'm Julio Bermudez. I'm a professor of architecture, and I've been at Catholic University since 2010, so now for 10 years. And my specialty is architectural design and sacred space. That's what I do. And one other thing, do you want me to go into my slides or just say that?
Not yet, not yet. This is just the brief intro.
Yeah. So my research areas also involve neuroscience and architecture.
Thank you so much, Julio. And Julio brought with him 2 of his fantastic students. First up, we have Maria.
Hi, I'm Maria. I'm currently a second semester grad student here at CUA, but I attended all 4 years of my undergraduate here, and currently in my thesis, and I'm actually combining music and architecture, so it's a lot of fun.
Excellent. And maybe students, tell them where you're from and maybe anything special about yourself, like any clubs or anything that you're in.
So I'm from Flemington, New Jersey, aka the middle of nowhere in Jersey. And I also am the president of the American Institute for Architecture Students.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Maria. And Julio also brought another student with him, Jake.
Hey guys, I'm a graduate student here at Catholic. I also did my undergraduate here. I'm from Bridgewater, New Jersey, and I was a student athlete all 4 years of my undergraduate too. I played soccer here at Catholic, so did a lot.
Excellent, thanks Jake. Next up for the faculty members, we have CJ Howard.
Hey everybody, good evening. Good to see you all here. I am an assistant professor here at Catholic. I've been here for 3 years, going on 3 years. And what's unique about me and part of my specialty or expertise is that I am part of the classical, traditional architecture and urbanism concentration. So that in a nutshell is what I'm up to. And yes, I've brought 2 students as well. I don't know, Robin, if you want to introduce them.
Sure, or you can.
Okay, so I've got Liam Barinholt, who's here. I have to scroll down nicely.
Hi, everyone. I'm in Columbia, Maryland. I'm a junior in the architecture program. And yeah, my main interest is classical and traditional architecture. So.
Thank you, Liam. And then we have Miriam Gallagher.
Hi, I'm Marion. I'm a junior as well in the classical studio with CJ. I also have a studio art minor, and I'm from Pennsylvania, like the Amish country area.
Awesome. Thank you, Marion. And our third faculty member that's joining us tonight is Douglas Palladino.
Hi, everybody. I have some little bit of red back there. I'm an architect. I've been living and practicing and teaching in Washington since 1984, graduating. And it's just a great city to work in, and CUA is a great institution to be part of. I brought a couple of my current students where they are. Yeah, Gabby and Kate. Introduce yourselves, Gabby and Kate.
Everyone, good evening. My name is Gabriella Adorno. I'm a third-year undergraduate architecture major at Catholic. Some of my passions are music, architecture, sports. I played intramural basketball for the women's division at Catholic, which is really fun. It's a good way to stay in shape, get involved. But you know, student athlete's a big commitment. Super sad. And I'm from New York City, so I've been here since March. Great.
Hi everyone, my name is Kate Yannick and I am from Stamford, Connecticut. I am a junior architecture major and I'm working on a sustainability minor. And some things that I do at Catholic, I'm an orientation leader. I'm also in Peers, which is a learning and mentorship program. And also I do a club called Operation Smile.
Thank you so much, Kate. So this is our fourth in a series of information sessions, and why I mention that is after tonight I will email each of you a link to our website where you can find the other three. Each of these are very unique. The invited guests are unique, what they're saying is unique, so if you like what you hear tonight and you haven't been to others, I would invite you to take a look at our previous sessions as well. Each has a different theme. And we're going to have 2 more sessions, one more in December and one more in January. So we really want to share with you what we're all about so you can make this very important decision that's coming up, and we want you to decide on Catholic. We want you to come here. So can't wait to hear some of your questions. We're going to do a brief presentation first. So this first slide is, what are we going to talk to you about? What is the theme of the evening? So basically, let me just go over to my screen. So all of these sessions have been about what can you expect from an architecture education at Catholic University of America. Each one has a different sub-theme, and this one, like I said, is meet our amazing faculty and students. Each of them are going to talk about various aspects of education, research, and practice. So this is quite a treat. I'm looking forward to this because I love hearing from my colleagues and I love hearing from the students. And this is just a little playful group of photos that we put together. So without further ado, we will jump right in. Julio's going to go first.
Okay, well, again, welcome everybody. I'm really happy that you are with us tonight. So I'm just going to show 4 slides or 5 slides about what I'm doing at CUA, and hopefully you're going to get excited and join us. So as I said before, I am a professor of architecture. I teach design. So what you see here in so many images is one of the most exciting programs actually in the whole country. We are bringing every year one world-class architect. You can see the names there: Antoine Pridoc, Craig Harman, Balasma, etc., etc. The last 2 are very well known: Daniel Libeskind and Marshall Brown. And they come here every year and teach a studio with me, and that produces remarkable work, and it has a lot of following around the country, and it's a very exciting, it's a world-class type of event that you can only get in Catholic University. So next. And in those studios, when we bring these amazing architects to work with us, we select a particular type of project, and that is in the area of expertise. And then these master architects work hand in hand on the desk with the students, and basically get to critique and talk and advise our students. An example of that you see in the bottom, in the middle, Daniel Libeskind talking to the students. Daniel Libeskind is one of the most famous architects in the world. He designed the whole development of 9/11 in New York City, just as an example. And of course, the work that comes out of the studios, and you see some examples there, are really beautiful work. And each one is very different. Every studio is different because each of these star architects are different. So next, please. As I said earlier, my area of investigation is spirituality or sacred space, but I call it spirituality because it's much bigger than just religion or church architecture. Is how the possibility that architecture has, the space and design and buildings, to really get us in contact with something transcendental, larger. For some of us that believe in God, of course, that's God, but for some other ones, it's nature. For some other one, is a fellow human being, our community. And I have published, here you see 2 books on the left, and also I'm very involved in scholarly work. So that's what I do for investigation. Next, please. One other thing I'm very excited, I'm starting literally today I order a portable electroencephalogram machine that allows me to measure people's brain responses to the built environment. So I get this major grant from the Templeton Foundation to start next semester to investigate the difference that 2 buildings produce in Catholics. I will pick Catholic because it's easier in science to select a group of people. If we are successful, we're going to extend this to other groups in society. But we've selected two projects. One is our very Basilica of the Immaculate Conception on campus, which if you come to see where you love, is incredible architecture. And then the other project we're going to be reviewing, how people respond, is also beautiful train station, Union train station in Washington, D.C. So we're starting that, and it's quite a powerful and very unique. It has never been done before. So we hope to learn a lot about architecture and human responses to architecture. And the other project that I'm involved right now, I just talked to CUA Press actually yesterday. This book, Spirituality in Architecture Education, is going to come out next year, 2021. And it's almost now going to peer review. So that's another big dimension of what I'm doing. Just one more slide and then I finish. And one other thing I just wanted to tell you, because it's kind of fun and you could actually go and find this out. I was involved with Morgan Freeman in this very well-known National Geographic program called The Story of God. If you go to the 3rd season, which is the last one, last year's, and the 3rd episode called Visions of God, I basically took Morgan into the Chartres Cathedral in France and showed him around, and it was just incredible experience. If you had a chance, it's a Netflix for free. You could check it out. Anyway, welcome, and I hope that you join us. And I think they have my 2 students, I know, Maria and Jake, that are working right now with me in the studio. And I hope that you just present your projects.
Yeah, so this is what I'm currently working on in our Walton Critic studio. So our project is a sanctuary that takes place, we're actually imagining the world as it will be in 2070. The whole premise of the sanctuary is to create something that will be selected and celebrated or built in 2045 and then celebrated in 2070. So there's been a lot of really interesting research that we've tried to do with adding technology and AI and what that does. So you can see here, this is what I've been working on, and it's very crazy. I've had a lot of fun with designing and also bringing in animation, which has been really, really interesting. So if you're interested in like that sort of thing, you can definitely do that in just architecture in general. Also, again, as I said, I'm the president of AIAS, which is our kind of student government in a way, which actually helps to build our community that we have at school. So we help to build programs such as our mentoring program, where as a freshman coming into the school, you will be paired with an upperclassman that you'll be able to go to and ask any questions and just freely be able to be comfortable with going to upperclassmen for help or advice. Also, sometimes you might even have the opposite, where upperclassmen will come to you for advice, which is really, really cool. And we also have other things called coffee and crits, which is basically you go, you pin up your work, have free coffee and donuts, and really just enjoy talking with your peers about the projects that you've been doing, as well as a host of other things such as a dance and anything else that people in the school suggest. So it's a really interesting organization. And next on the list is my classmate, Jake.
Yes.
Hey guys, yeah, so I'm a graduate student in the Walton studio this year. It's my second year actually in the Walton studio. I liked it so much I did it twice. I'm also a student athlete. I played soccer here at Catholic. So if any of you guys are looking to play sports at Catholic or get involved in any of the athletics, feel free to ask any question. The university does a good job, but the School of Architecture does a phenomenal job of acknowledging what it takes to do both. So it's totally doable. It's so easy. And I highly encourage it if you're on the fence. But I'm in the Walton studio because it really gives you the opportunity to pursue ideas or topics that you are passionate about, something that drives you personally, and it elevates your project to the next level. As you could see, me and Maria are in the same class. We go to class together every day, but our projects are so different from each other. And it's because we get to go down lanes of something that we want to pursue personally, something that drives us. And it makes the projects unique. So if you're looking to think outside the box or do something that's a little personal, then I highly encourage you to look into the Walton studio. And next, I think we have CJ Howard, one of our professors.
Thank you, Jake. Again, good to see you all. What I thought would probably be most helpful is to talk about what I brought up when I briefly introduced myself, and that is my background, my expertise, classical traditional architecture. In large part because it's a pretty unique part of our program and worth just explaining a little bit. It's also very unique. There aren't many schools that have classical traditional part of their curriculum. So this is something that we offer that I think is pretty special and part of my background. I'm also a practicing architect going on about 20 years. So that's what I do as a professional as well. And now I'm able to teach it, and I'm very excited about that. But in terms of trying to explain what this is, maybe it seems self-evident, but traditional architecture is the kind of architecture that we've had for a long time and really marked by the idea of passing on knowledge, a knowledge base, and how we build best and how to make built culture very reflective of particular cultures. So there's a broad array of knowledge base that helps us be connected. That's why I have these images of families. You could think about it as generational. So it goes from one generation to the next, and they have their individual interpretations per age. So that's tradition and traditional architecture as sort of a big all-encompassing thing. So if you could go to the next slide. So that helps me describe what exactly classical architecture is. It's a language, a specific language within traditional architecture, particularly marked by its origins with the ancient Greeks and Romans. Then it develops over time through many cultures across time. So there's that connectivity to it. It is particularly based on what we call the classical orders. And those are what you commonly know as columns. But then there's also something above them that is called the Entablatures of Beam. So it's like this really elemental part of architecture that's been used to make artful buildings. So if you could go to the next slide. And that is that this image is showing exactly that, the column and the entablature. And what it has embedded in it is a lot of value. It's been invested in over time. So it's a system of architecture that comes together with this principle of harmonics. You could make an analogy to music, for example, if any of you are in music, in terms of composing and putting things together that have an inherent beauty to them. So when you put it together with particular principles, you can come up with the result that is quite beautiful. But it's also very essential, again, as sort of this Stonehenge type of construction that we know in terms of a post, a column, or a beam. And then it's brought to life with some poetics and some qualities that help it be beautiful as well and serve humanity in that sense. So it's also, this order thing is DNA. Next, please. And so, like I said, it has its origins from a long time ago, and it's been building over time. I have this quote here, you don't have to read it, but it always helps me explain that classical architecture is always modern because it constantly gets developed upon, but also because it has a particular relationship with human beings. It's this inherent thing that we have, we have parts that come together as a whole. Same thing with classical architecture, and that's something that we can teach in a ready way. It's a very teachable thing. Next, please. And so this is just a snapshot of classical architecture through time, again, from ancient times, from Rome to early Christian architecture to Renaissance Baroque, then into neoclassical. Next, please. And then into current day contemporary classical architecture that happens today. I'm a living testament to that. And this is part of the reason why the value that Catholic University has in offering this as a means to architecture as an education, is because it is done today and has its own life, if you will, as a living tradition, but also particularly in Washington, D.C., where you can in person go and visit all these wonderful works of architecture and study and learn from them. Next, please. And then again, I'm a living example of this happening today. This is what I've done since I graduated from college. This is my background in college as well. And I put to good use over the 20 years that I've been practicing, largely here in Washington, D.C. And I've done a bunch of work from furniture design to urban design. And what you see in front of you is some examples of earlier residential projects that I worked on, but also that big map you see in the corner is a replanning project for Washington, D.C. Next, please. And then particularly what I've been doing, I guess, as of late or most recently and most significantly is work for the church, ecclesiastical work. One of my last projects was a new cathedral in Knoxville, Tennessee, and that's the photo on the upper right. That's the new cathedral. Some renderings you can see perhaps in the last slide as well. Some watercolor renderings that I do as part of my my professional services as well, but also something that I teach at the school and students have used as well and had a lot of fun with. But yeah, this is a large part of my work here. Next, please. And so then I'm able to teach this. And as I said, it's very teachable in the sense that it's a rational approach to architecture, based on math and all sorts of other qualities. So we teach students how to draw the orders, for example, as that DNA, and then teach them how to use the larger, bigger picture principles to put it all together for harmonious, beautiful architecture. And then also you'll see some renderings that give it depth and beauty. Next. Here's some student work just to show the broad breadth of what we can do here at Catholic. And you'll see some more work with the students coming ahead. Next, please. And just to wrap it up, my own research has been kind of in two main parts at this point. I've been interested in documentation of existing significant works of architecture that haven't had documentation. So this image on the right is the completed works from some efforts that myself and a graduate student did in measuring this old historic building, Old Town Alexandria. Then we put a sheet together and won a first place competition prize for single sheet entry for this building. And then all the background documentation was then submitted to the Library of Congress as their archive. So that's a pretty significant thing. So I'm working to build on that. Another part of what I do is focus on monuments and memorials. And to that end, I just research their significance, the ones that have been built up to this point, and also generally understand how they're important for our culture. And in part of that, it involves me doing designs, and that's what you see in the lower left image. It's a Native American Veterans Memorial that I did most recently. So that's kind of the bigger dimensions of my research. There's some other things that I'm working on, but that in a nutshell is it. So I'll hopefully I didn't go over. And I am now teaching a junior studio that is working on a community center here in Washington, D.C. And it's been a very interesting project. They're learning about civic architecture, but also architecture as it relates to its site, so some site design. And then also we, as if that's not enough, we jammed in a little monuments project as well, because we discovered there were some significant aspects to the site that we felt worth commemorating. So I'll let Marian describe her project a little bit here.
Thank you, CJ. As CJ said, I'm in the junior classical studio, and these are just some like hand-drawn, most of these are hand-drawn, not all of them, snapshots of my project right now. In this studio, I've really like been able to explore my creative aspects. Like I've always been super passionate about drawing and painting especially, and it's been really awesome to design this community center, but at the same time like hand draw everything and create that relationship between myself and my project. And I think the classical concentration really helped me with that, because the way that it's laid out, there's like a specific way that things are supposed to be done, but there are endless ways of making it beautiful, and there's so much opportunity for you to be creative in that. And that's it for me. I'm gonna let you hear from Liam, my classmate.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, hi everyone. Yeah, I'm Liam Farrenholt, also in the classical studio. I'm also in the honors program as well as the Ipal program, which I'm happy to explain just in brief. The Ipal program, it's great. The bottom line is, to be a licensed architect, you need your degree, you need to get your ARE exams done, and you need some work experience, quite a bit of work experience actually. But the Ipal program streamlines the process into just your years of school, so your undergraduate and graduate studies. So that's 6 years. I know that may sound like a long time, but it can take quite a bit longer. So Ipal is great. That's very much the long story short version. But when you hear about it later on, be sure to check it out. You don't have to decide until the spring of your first year anyway. But so as far as just thinking back to like when I was at square one, thinking where I wanted to go for architecture school, here's some of what I would have liked to see if I was still on the fence about CUA. This is basically exactly what I do every day. On the left, like sort of in order, this is how semesters go for me. So you look at precedents, great buildings, historical buildings, even just ones that interest you. Then you do some analysis with diagrams and some composition, just quick basic stuff to apply what you've learned really. And then really quickly, you get to move towards your final project, which is where things get really interesting. That's the second half of the semester. You get a real site and like real context to work with. It feels like you're really getting your hands on actual architecture work. Along the way, I've used a lot of different methods just this semester. That's what all this work is from. Sketching, watercolor, the watercolor's in the middle there. That's my first serious attempt at watercolor, so don't laugh. I've used quite a few digital programs. Just to name like my four main ones this semester, it's been SketchUp, AutoCAD, Photoshop, and Illustrator, which are all very cool things to learn. But yeah, the goal is to get from a big picture of your design down to specific details as you really sharpen it down to a point. Then you get this final presentation, and it's so satisfying to just like, you get this complete thought that you're all, it was all your work just like comes down to a point. But really, yeah, again, this is the classical studio, but this is how the pattern that I've seen. It's a great pattern from like your second year studios onward, because you really get to do a lot of your own work, like I said. But the number one thing about architecture at CUA for me is the community, and I'm sure you're going to hear that from like everyone. I heard it from everyone when I was visiting CUA. It's just such a unique, like tight-knit group. You get to know everyone in your studio section. That's like really your small group every semester. The faculty, they're all awesome. They're committed to like helping you do your best work and learn everything you can, even online, which is like, the real test of that. I've felt how special this school is in that regard. It's by no means an easy program, but with a positive attitude, you really have everything you need to become an architect. So now I'm going to hand it over to Douglas for his presentation.
Liam, thank you so much. I couldn't have done that any better. That was beautiful. Douglas is going to actually share his screen because he has a bunch of slides prepared for you all. You're muted, Douglas. Are you able to share your screen?
Sorry, this is how we begin every meeting. You're muted.
And can you see my mouse? Can you see my mouse?
I'm trying to start to get YM. We're going to use a shorthand. Yeah, well, welcome, future architects. Yeah, as I remember my first day of architecture school, my professors told me that when you decide to devote your life to architecture, you get as your birthright all of the architecture and the knowledge of it that has ever been created. And with that birthright comes the responsibility to learn it, use it wisely, and to add to that knowledge. And I don't know why that came back to me when Robin, asked me to come and join you all today. So when she did, I started to think, well, what will I tell you guys? So let me share my screen. I thought maybe I would tell you why birds sing. Living in Washington, you meet amazing people that do remarkable things. And, the typical thing is they ask you, what do you do? And I like to say, I make the world better one building at a time. That usually strikes them as a rather inefficient way to make an impact. But architecture has always mattered. The issues facing the early modernists caused by the Industrial Revolution were like the world had never seen and required a profound response. The prosperity and relative peace of modern times was really made possible by the cities that those architects designed. Winston Churchill says, we shape our cities and then our cities shape us. Today, the challenge facing architects has never been more important. How well we do our job affects 40% of global CO2 emissions, and much more if you consider planning. But I've no doubt that you will be up to the challenge, just as the architects of the Industrial Revolution were up to theirs. Every building that has ever been built will share the Earth's atmosphere, and it's as thin as an onion skin. Architecture will lead you to amazing places where you will meet amazing people. I've been part of building everything from furniture to the US Capitol Visitor Center that almost doubled the floor area of the Capitol. I've done houses and stables for racehorses that won the Kentucky Derby. But one project that's been on my mind a lot recently is the new campus for 10,000 employees of the Food and Drug Administration. When I was working on that project, I used to tell my team that one day the people in the buildings that we are designing will do something important that will change your life. Just yesterday, they announced they approved a $50 at-home COVID test. And in the next few weeks, they will rule on the safety and the effectiveness of 2 vaccines that will change the world. Now, when I said they would change your life, I thought maybe they would cure cancer or hay fever. And I never expected that they would affect every person on the planet in 1 year. So, how architecture? Architecture used to be done in a room full of well-dressed people with one telephone. My first architecture job, which doesn't seem that long ago to me, was here in Washington when I was still in school. There were more phones, but not much had really changed. It used to be that if you wanted to draw something big, you had to do big drawings. But now, you don't just draw it, you build it before you build it in the computer. And then you extract all of the representations necessary, and the contractor takes your model and builds it from that. My professors had no idea that this would be the office that I would be working in my career. But we learned how to learn and how to adapt. We have no idea what the office you will be working in will be like. That's why we teach you to be creative and to solve problems that no one knows the answer to, because that's what architects do. It's not rocket science. It's much harder. Rockets only have to last for a few minutes, and nobody cares what they look like. You will be part scientist and part artist. Another thing I say when people are impressed by making the world better one building at a time, I say, I'm a brain surgeon and I don't use instruments, because that's what we do here at CUA. We change your brain. Learning how to design a building requires a lot of different kinds of learning. Some of it is like tying your shoe, where someone just has to show you how to do it. But a lot of it you learn by doing. Just like you can't learn how to play football by watching somebody else do it. In architecture, you have to do it yourself. So why CUA? It helps a lot if you learn architecture someplace where you're surrounded by architecture. And Washington has always been and is a great laboratory for designing and learning architecture. It also helps a lot if you're surrounded by people that do great architecture. Here in DC, we have amazing architecture institutions that are also your resources. Just last night, I moderated a panel discussion at the American Institute of Architects that explored what the post-pandemic city would be like. By the time we opened it up for questions, half the people on the screen were either faculty, students, or alumni of CUA. Now, soon you will be one of those students, but right now I'm going to have one of the current students that was there last night talk to you. Gabby, there it goes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gabriela Adorno, to reiterate, Gabby for short. And I'm currently in Douglas's third-year studio at 301, where we're building a Rose Park Recreation Center. So same project as CJ students, just different approach. And this semester was really special because we got to explore the context of DC and what a recreation center in the city would do, but also a smaller context of the park itself and what that park meant to the neighborhood of that specific region, which is Georgetown, if any of you are familiar with that. It was a really great experience to really break down site. This was the studio where you really dive into program. We had the opportunity to add a program of our choice that we felt the site needed, which was a result of all the analysis we did when looking into the site. These are some just drawings to show you guys where the project's headed. It's been really fun to use Revit this semester. If any of you are familiar with that program, it's one of the architecture programs that we use to design, but there's so many, which is what I love about CUA. It's really introduced us to SketchUp, Revit, Rhino, whatever you're comfortable with is what you can use. Pretty much it. I'll let Catherine, my classmate, explain her project.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kate. So I am in Douglas's studio, like Gabby, and this semester we've been really exploring the recreation center in Georgetown and how to incorporate this recreation center into the park and into the fabric of Georgetown. So we did a lot of site analysis, and in my own site analysis, I realized how much this park means to the surrounding residential parts, and how I actually got the chance to go and walk around in the park. And when I did on a Sunday at like 4 p.m., everyone was out on the grass, of course socially distanced, but everyone was outside enjoying, and especially in the time that we live in, the outdoor green space is so important. So in that analysis, I kind of came up with this idea to build on the slope where not a lot of action can actually happen. You can't sit on this really steep hill. So instead of interrupting the grass, which everyone enjoys in the park, why not build on the slope? So that is what I have for now during my mid-review. And something kind of interesting, I mean, even though online school is a little bit harder than how it was when we were in person, we really learned to adapt. And I think that's something that CUA teaches you and kind of pushes you to do in a good way. And in that adaptation, as you can see on the bottom, there's me and my desk. I kind of forgot about physical models because we weren't in Crow, which is the architecture building. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, physical models are such an integral part of design. So I got my sister's sand, I got a cookie sheet, and I got some Legos, and I just like started carving into this hill, like a crazy person almost. But learning to use the resources that we have in front of us has really been such a skill that I've learned this semester, especially with it being online. And then also on the right, as I shared earlier, I am an orientation advisor, and that has probably been one of my favorite parts of that CUA. I get to welcome all the first years every year, which could be you guys next year in the fall. And it's great to form those connections and be the first smiling face that all the first years come to CUA. So yeah, that's been my experience, and honestly can't imagine my life without being at Catholic. So I hope you guys come here and I see you in the fall. And then I'm going to pass it back to Robin.
Thank you so much, Kate. And while you guys are thinking about your questions, or feel free to type it in the chat. Kate, I just wanted to mention, it was funny because we rehearsed this, so I got to see Kate's slide, and she's not in my studio. But I said at the end of it, I said, Kate, do you mind if I give you a quick desk crit? You know, and it was something that was so fun because, you know, community centers, I design community centers, and I'm on a couple boards in Arlington, Virginia, where they've built a school recently on a hillside. And so we kind of just started talking. She's not my student, but I love talking to her, Kate. I hope you love talking to me too. I don't know, it was really fun. So lots of these serendipitous things just happen at Catholic, and they continue to do so even when we're online. So I just wanted to share that quick thought that wasn't practiced or rehearsed or anything. So I don't see any questions in the chat yet, at least not to everyone or directed to me. Abby, are you getting any questions or?
I don't see any right now. Oh, we just had one pop in.
Here we go. Okay,
so have any of your requirements for the fall 2021 semester changed because of COVID? So I can talk in terms of admissions, because I know we have had a few changes. So if you have not yet applied to the university, or if you have applied and we're wondering about this, our biggest change is that we went from being test optional, where you could choose to submit or not submit your test scores, to being test blind, where that means regardless of whether you decide to send them in or not, we are not reviewing test scores. So I would save yourself the money and not send them in because we are not reviewing them whatsoever in the admissions process. Majority of students around the country haven't been able to take the SAT or ACT yet. And so we, for the past 5 years, with it being optional, it wasn't playing a really big role in the admissions process anyways. So it was just easy enough for us to move into being test blind for this year. So that's really the only admissions specific one. But Robin, I don't know if there's been any changes overall in the architecture program or different things that you've made for students that you want to talk about.
I wish I could have had that option.
I know. I wouldn't say that there's any changes, and feel free, CJ, Julio, Douglas, if you can think of any. I don't think any. I think that question was probably directed more towards admission, but if it wasn't, feel free to type a little bit more, and I'd be happy to talk more about that. I see the next question, and Abby will read it for us in a second, but this is when we will practice our other thing we say on the Zoom call all the time, when multiple people start to answer the question at the same time. You know, we have, you're muted, and can you see my mouse? And when Abby reads this question, I would throw it out to the students, and we can watch them kind of all just kind of talk to each other. So let's see how they handle this. Abby.
All right, so our next question is for projects. Do you have to draw, digitally sketch and design, or both? So I'm guessing that means like hand draw or on the digital side.
CJ, do you want to answer that?
Oh, no, you go ahead.
I was going to say, honestly, it really depends. If you don't have any experience in sketching and that sort of thing, we actually do have a great 101 intro level class that really helps you to just learn the initial like how to draw architecturally, which really helps you to establish that. And then in 102, it starts to, you learn the programs and you learn how to draft, which is, you know, the classic board with the drawing with rulers and stuff. But for the most part, it's really, you start to understand what you like to do, whether it's more sketch-based or it's more digital design-based, and then the school and the professors really help you to go forward with that and to really experiment with all these different areas. So if you learn that you're more sketch-based, then you can really design in the sketch-based area. If you're more digital design-based, you can go more that route. It's really, really nice that we have a balance between the two.
I want to add to that too, like when you're in school here, your professors will constantly be telling you, draw that, like print this out, sketch over it. That'll help you in your design, which like I found especially this year helps you so much. That your final requirements for your projects will mostly always be digital design work, like digital drawings. But in getting to that process and making those drawings the best that they can be, it's so helpful for you to just, even if you're not good at drawing, to just like draw over it and feel it so that you can actually familiarize yourself more with it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just want to echo that really quick. It seems to me like architecture, and that's a lot of the reason why like I like it so much, is that it's kind of like the crossroads of tech and art. So a lot of people are really into the digital side. Other people are like, they want to like design with like, you know, hand drawing and stuff like that. I think the bottom line is, whatever you are more, I don't know, whatever you lean towards more, you've got like an incredible amount of resources here to pursue whatever it is that personally motivates you. So that's been my experience.
And the next question that we had comes from Lauren and says, for the students, which project did you enjoy working on the most at Catholic?
I would say, at least for me, it's been this current project, the Recreation Center. I think mostly just since the times that we're in, we feel so disconnected, and being able to work on a recreation center that's meant for community, it's a positive project, and it's been something that's great to think about. And eventually one day we're all going to go back to normal. So these community centers and these recreation centers are so important to the fabric of our cities. So it's been a really meaningful project that I've enjoyed working on.
Anyone else?
I have to be
just say
really,
really-
oh, go ahead,
Oh,
Liam.
no, go ahead, Maria.
I was gonna say, I got to be careful with my answer here because I've had 3 of these professors. But honestly, I have enjoyed so many of these projects. It's really a question of which one haven't I enjoyed, because each one builds upon the last and really like works on different aspects of architecture. Like I'm currently in a class called Design Process and Methods with Julio, where I'm actually going through and analyzing all of the projects that I've done throughout undergrad. And it's really interesting to see all of the different approaches. And I honestly, to pick a favorite would be just to be like, which part of architecture is like, you know, the most interesting. So it's just, yeah. Sorry for not giving a 100% answer there.
Yeah, I would basically say like each successive project, I think that's pretty much what we're getting at here, is that like, I don't know, like I look back, if I had to pick one though, like even in 101, there was stuff that I just loved. It's like, it's not a lot of specifics, but it's, if you're more into that kind of artistic side of it or the kind of hand-drawn methods, I have projects there that like, not that they're masterpieces or anything, I'm not like a master artist, but you know, you feel like you could frame it or something, you know? It's like you've already got something your first semester that you feel like, yeah, like I'm proud of this.
I'd say it's hard to choose. You know, each semester builds on the last. I know, as Liam mentioned, 101, you focus a lot on hand drafting and just being able to understand how to represent architecture. And then you do a smaller project that explores space in form in a simple way. And then second semester, I enjoyed, we did a brewery. I know Julio was the coordinator of that studio. It really encouraged us to think about experience in a building and how that relates to the program. So obviously the way you'd approach a brewery is different than the way you would approach the design of a library. So that was awesome. But this semester we get to think about a civic building and how it relates to the city that we're studying in, which is really important. I mean, recreation centers, a free place to grow as a person, but also stay well and use the fitness rooms for free. It's really important. And working with a real site was really fun this semester, I feel like, for me, and being able to manipulate the park fabric and then how that will relate to the city fabric.
So, hey, all you guys, you know, there's a famous Frank Lloyd Wright quote, the American architect. Somebody once asked him, late in his career, what, you know, you've done hundreds of buildings, what's your favorite building? And you know what he said? The next one.
Gabby, do we have more?
Yes.
Abby, sorry. Gabby, Abby. It's been a long day.
That's fine. That happens all the time at Starbucks. I always get strange names. So the next question is from Luisa asking, how does the Ipal program work?
Liam, why don't you start and maybe I'll finish. Or wait, I'm looking at my screen. Where's Liam?
I think he just left. He said
Oh,
he
okay.
was a holy hour.
Oh, okay, cool. And am I correct? Nobody else is Ipal here. Okay, cool. So I'll just jump in. So it's basically Ipal stands for Integrated Path to Architecture Licensure. And as Liam so eloquently described, there's 3 parts to getting your architecture license. It's getting a degree from a NAB accredited institution, which Catholic is. It is interning, spending time working under a professional architect or others, certified professionals, contractors, landscape architects, that kind of thing, to get a broad sense of experience, and then taking exams. Back in my day, I had to take 9 exams. Now it's 6, so it's getting easier. No, I'm just kidding. It's actually not. It's in the eye of the beholder to prepare for these exams. So the Integrated Path to Architecture Licensure tries to prepare you and set you up for success for all those 3 different aspects. And to do so, the theory is you would get a Bachelor's of Science in Architecture in 4 years, and then you would get a Master of Architecture in 2 additional years, and you would spend time, your summers, et cetera, interning, and we would support you to pass your exams. So the thinking from NCARB, which is our licensing body, is at the end of the 6 years, you could actually graduate architecture school as a licensed architect. The program's only in its 6th year and 5th year here at Catholic, so we don't have any graduates yet to speak of that have gone through that whole process, but we're 5 years into that process. We're constantly evaluating that process and to try to improve it, and we're kind of in the middle of that right now. But it's just another interesting aspect, another choice you could make. You know, Liam had said he's in the honors program. You can choose to do the honors program. You can choose to do the Ipal. Lots of different choices. And what's good about the Ipal program, you don't have to decide until your spring semester of your first year. So you have time to jump in, fall semester, figure a lot of other things out, learn more about the Ipal, and then you can make a decision.
Great. And then our next question is from Brian, and it's addressed specifically to Maria, but anyone else who has anything to say can jump in. But he asks, for combining music and architecture, are you focusing on the acoustic characteristics of the space and or the theatrical appeal of the space?
So this actually kind of goes into my thesis research, as well as I've actually had a project that I did my junior year about combining architecture and music. And for me, at least, it's more analyzing the musical aspects and translating that into architecture. So I'm looking at a specific music style and what that music style is, and then looking at the language and how it translates into architecture to actually translate that into a design. So unlike, you know, normal things that you think about, like performance, like theaters, or the acoustics of a space, yes, that'll be considered, but this is more of kind of like a research And there was also a time where I actually had a music twice now, once in Douglas's studio and once in a studio that I had again junior year, where I actually picked a music, like a piece of music as the basis or like my precedent for the rest of the design. So I like most people, you have like maybe an art piece that you like draw from, or you have a specific building or concept that you build on. This one was music. So it's been really interesting. A lot of research been done, a lot of research still to do. But otherwise, like if you have interests in theater or acoustics, there's definitely a lot of resources for that. And in fact, we've actually had a someone at COA that did a double major in musical theater and architecture, and they've done a fabulous job, and it's really interesting to see what they've done with that. So I don't know if that answered your question.
There's a famous quote that architecture is frozen music. I like to say music is melting architecture. I mean, the parallels, the analogy between the structuring of a piece of music and the perception of it and that of architecture, a lot has been written about that. You know, a lot has also been written about acoustics, and acoustics is the thing. It's been my experience in practice. It's the thing that is usually forgotten about because it's hard to draw, right? So we're designing with visual representation, and nobody ever draws what a building room sounds like, you know, in terms of the reverberation, but it's so important. And so if that's what well, either one of those, I think are really good questions, good things. It's a good sign that you're thinking about those. I definitely want you to come and be in my studio.
I just wanted to jump in real quick because I know it's 6 o'clock, and I know a lot of our faculty probably they have to teach other classes or students. So I'd be fine if anyone signs up, but don't feel rushed. I'm here until the last question is the answer. So I just wanted to say that to folks, because I know what's today, Thursday. I know people have things to do, so.
The next question we have is, does the test blind policy also apply to the GRE scores for the Masters of Architecture?
Sure.
That I'm not sure of because I'm just with undergrad, but Robin, if you want to.
Sure. So we are not requiring GRE this year, and perhaps not for the foreseeable future. I think a lot of higher ed institutions are going to reevaluate and look at things, but we know for sure for this upcoming year it is not required.
Great, thank you. And then another question from Louisa: if she chooses not to do the dual degree program with civil engineering, can you choose civil engineering as a minor? Is it possible to have an engineering minor?
That is a good question. I think the answer is no, but you know what, Louisa, I will contact you with email to confirm that for sure. I know the opposite, you could major in civil engineering and you can minor in architecture studies. That's not the professional track for architecture, if you will, but if you don't mind, I would be happy to research that and I'll send you an email.
So the next question then is directed to Jacob. And the question is, do you play varsity soccer for Catholic U or intramural? Has that affected your inspiration in designing projects? And how has that affected your studies?
Let me answer that for Jacob. I had Jacob in my studio. I didn't even know he played soccer.
Yeah, so I played varsity soccer, traveled all over the country playing, got a couple of awards. We have a handful of All-Americans on the team now too. But the only thing it really affected me was it improved my time management skills. As you heard from Doug and my other studio professors, I mean, they virtually have no idea that you're on a team just because of your ability to balance both of them. And like I said, the university and the School of Architecture in specific does a phenomenal job of understanding where your commitment is and how to do it. The only, I think, annoying thing about it might be is that you have to wake up and go to practice. And then sometimes you might just have to rush back and like get a quick bite before you go to class, but totally doable. It's so much fun. And it's also a good thing being an athlete on campus, in my opinion. It's just, you wear a sense of pride that other people don't really get the opportunity to. So again, if anyone's on the fence about joining any type of athletics, I highly encourage you to do it.
I agree with that. I was an athlete when I was in school, and I support all my students in sophomore or graduate programs or undergrad. And there's only one requirement: they have to win. Either win, they're okay.
When did you play,
So-
Julio?
I play volleyball. I was
Oh,
in the
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, you're tall.
Great. So then our next question is kind of going along when we were talking about civil engineering and minors earlier. What minors do you suggest that fit well with architecture?
Sure, and I would throw this to the students as well. If you have minors, feel free, and then I'll finish up because I process a lot of minors every day.
I mean, I think we can start off with just a show of hands of who has had or is currently working towards a sustainability minor. I know there's a few of us and others that have thought about it. But that's definitely a very easy minor to do. I graduated with a sustainability minor because a lot of the classes overlap, and it's really interesting, and the classes themselves give a very diverse experience in what you can do in architecture in terms of creating a better environment and a better future. So that one's definitely a shoo-in.
Is anyone else? Marion, right?
Right now I'm working towards a studio art minor, which is like really cool because I can take like art principles and drawing techniques and apply them to my studio projects. But I would say that you could do that with almost any minor. Like architecture is so diverse that you can have a minor in anything and it will always be applicable.
Yeah, I would say just because I talk with all of the undergraduate students every day, the most popular ones right now that I'm seeing are the politics minor, a pre-law minor, a peace and justice minor, certainly sustainability, because like Maria was saying, you're already in the School of Architecture and the minor in sustainability is hosted by the School of Architecture. So there's a lot of double overlapping courses that you can take that can also count as program electives. So that's a nice way to do it. French minors, almost like you name it. Some students even get 2 minors. And when I tell the students, oh, you have room in your schedule to get 2 minors, their face just lights up because I'm like, open up that course catalog, have some fun. What is it gonna be? And they're like, this is the best day ever. How exciting. So yeah, so that is completely open to you and it won't add any extra time for your undergrad degree.
And then our next question, and the last one at least that I can see in the list, says, I joined a little later, so I'm not sure if you touched on this, but Common App did not have a place to submit a portfolio. Is it still possible to do this and submit one if I already applied for early action?
Sure, and I would say if you go on our website, and I'd be happy to email you the link as well, there's directions by who you can email that portfolio to. It is not required for undergraduate, it is required for transfer students, and it is required for graduate students. But if you go on the website, and again, I'd be happy to email, I'm going to be emailing all of you, so get ready for it. I'll include that information in your email where you can go to look for what we ask for in the format and who to email it to. So that's our last one that you can see, Abby?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Feel free, anyone can unmute themselves too and ask questions. Happy to do that as well.
How would the double major work?
And
Double minor, sorry.
The double minor? Sure. So it really depends what you want to minor in. In the architecture program of studies, you have a whole bunch of what we call program electives. So as long as it's related to something that we offer in the School of Architecture, you can take those courses, and all of the sustainability courses fall into that category. Not all of them, a lot of them do. So that can count as an elective and for your sustainability minor. And then you also have, depending on your math placement and a couple of other things, you'll have what is called a free elective that you can do. Or sometimes students, instead of taking 15 credits, they might choose to take 18 credits, and then they can kind of chip it away at another minor that way. Also, I hear Catholic University is a fun place in the summer So sometimes students stick around and take classes in the summer. So there's lots of different options of what you can do. And what's so great about Catholic is as a freshman, you get an advisor and you can talk with them one-on-one. This is what's important to me. How can we make it happen? And we all really bend over backwards to hear what is important to you and how can we get you there. I will tell you, every single student that I deal with, and I have 300, they're all different. They're all unique. They all take different classes and they have different goals. And it's my job to make sure that I am making them all happy. I don't know, guys, what do you think? Am I doing a good job? Am I doing a good job? It's what I live for. It's what I love. It's my passion. So, and I'm just one of many advisors doing that. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
You bet. You bet. The awkward silence of a Zoom call. But I'll stick around until everyone hangs up. So if you want to just ask me a question one-on-one, you're totally fine to do that as well.
Great to see everybody. It was wonderful. It was fun. And I can't wait to see you guys all next year. In person, in Crow. It's going to be wonderful.
Yes.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Douglas. I enjoyed your presentation. CJ, Julio, same thing.